In the quiet corners of memory and the loud silences of childhood, fathers leave echoes, some comforting, others disorienting. Today we're going to explore how father figures shape emotional development, identity, and the lifelong quest for connection through two powerful narratives: The Garbage Man's Daughter by David James Duncan and Jean-Pierre Jeunet's Amelie. Though vastly different in tone and form, one a psychological memoir, the other a whimsical film, both stories reveal how a father's presence or absence can sculpt a child's inner world. In The Garbage Man's Daughter, the relationship between Dory and her father William unfolds in three psychological stages, each leaving a distinct imprint on her development. As a child, Dory faces emotional neglect that becomes foundational to her sense of self. William doesn't ignore just her feelings, he invalidates them. When Dory expresses fear or vulnerability, he dismisses it as a game of gross out, or deflects it with detached lectures about landfill systems. In developmental psychology, a child interprets a parent's emotional availability as a mirror of their own worth. So when William consistently turns away, Dory learns to see her emotions as embarrassing or even shameful. His eyes dart away even after 15 years apart. This symbolizes that it's not just physical estrangement, but it's a deeper emotional starvation that has shaped her internal narrative. But the impact doesn't stop in childhood. As she enters adolescence, Dory unconsciously begins to emulate her father's cold intellectualism. Gifted a doll by William's sister Helen, Dory is not convinced it's real after Helen says, "Dolly cries real tears and makes real pee-pee." She then proceeds to squeeze the doll and drink its pee-pee, only to come to the conclusion that it's just water. She rejects imagination in favor of rationality, a defensive mechanism that mimics William's emotional detachment. At the same time, she imagines emotional escape through Wally, the jolly trash collector, who offers a fleeting glimpse of warmth and creative presence. This duality reflects John Bowlby's attachment theory, where children internalize both the behaviors and emotional blind spots of their caregivers while instinctively seeking out what was missing. By adulthood, Dory is no longer just reacting to her father's absence, she is reckoning with its impact. In her confessional letter, she reveals how William's emotional distance became a relational blueprint, leading her to label herself the assassin of family happiness. And yet, she shifts from resentment to empathy, calling it all a misunderstanding. This moment is a psychological pivot, an act of emotional reauthoring. The vision of a spider silk bridge at the landfill becomes a metaphor for healing, delicate, resilient, and self-woven. Through this reconciliation, Dory embodies Erik Erikson's psychosocial theory, transforming childhood wounds into adult insight, reclaiming her identity from inherited silence. In Amelie, Jean-Pierre Jeunet paints a different picture, one wrapped in whimsy but rooted in the same emotional void. Amelie's father, Raphael, is emotionally distant and withdrawn. When she experiences a racing heartbeat during one of their rare physical contacts, he misinterprets it as a heart defect.
De l'examen médical mensuel. La fillette, bouleversée par cette intimité exceptionnelle, ne peut empêcher son cœur de battre la chamade. Dès lors, son père la croit victime d'une anomalie cardiaque. À cause de cette maladie fictive, la petite Amélie ne va pas à l'école. C'est sa mère qui lui tient lieu de préceptrice.
Les poules.
This medical misdiagnosis becomes symbolic. He sees her not through a lens of love, but through detachment and misunderstanding. As a result, Amelie grows up isolated, receiving affection only through sterile monthly checkups. Her mother, equally emotionally fragile, dies suddenly, leaving Raphael to retreat further into himself. With no space for emotional expression, Amelie builds one of her own. She crafts an inner world of rituals and small joys, such as skipping stones, cracking creme brulee, and rearranging people's lives from behind the scenes. These quirks are not just charming, they're survival strategies. Like her father, she avoids vulnerability, performing acts of kindness for others while avoiding her own loneliness. Emotional repression inherited from Raphael becomes a shield. This avoidance plays out most clearly in her love life. When she meets Nino, she doesn't confront him directly. Instead, she invents elaborate games and anonymous gestures like leaving clues or dressing as Zorro because direct expression feels too risky. Her emotional isolation, inherited from her father, makes even joy feel dangerous. But change comes quickly. When Amelie meets Nino face to face, she breaks the cycle. The camera lingers on her trembling lips, her cautious breath, singling not just romantic tension, but a lifetime of emotional withholding beginning to unravel. Through this moment, the film suggests that healing doesn't always arrive in grand gestures. Sometimes, it's as simple and as courageous as choosing connection over fear. Returning to the garbage man's daughter, we see that Dory is not shaped by one, but two father figures, William and Wally, each representing different poles of influence. William's cold rationalism is the dominant force. His emotional absence and disengagement, such as calling Mr. Rapist to come inside the house and have his way with Dory, rather than find the underlying issue, conditions Dory to dismiss her own feelings. This neglect becomes so ingrained that when they finally reunite, his eyes still dart away, as if to say nothing has changed. Yet, William's intellectual rigor leaves a legacy. By age 3, Dory already mimics his logic-first worldview. She's emotionally starved, but mentally sharp, learning that knowledge can be a shield when affection is denied. Then there's Wally, the jolly garbage man. His warmth offers a contrast to William's coldness. He embodies imagination, emotion, and music, but he too carries shame with his identity. Wally teaches Dory that emotional presence, while vital, isn't always enough, because presence alone doesn't guarantee healthy emotional development. While Wally offers Dory the kind of warmth and attention she never receives from William, his deep shame about being a garbage man limits how much he can fully express that he cares. He keeps showing up, singing, and waiting for her at the window, but he never truly steps into the role of a father figure. His love is real, but it remains quiet, indirect, and incomplete. In this way, Wally shows Dory that even love can come wrapped in silence. Wally's care is never voiced, only observed. His silence doesn't mean he doesn't love her. It means he doesn't feel worthy of that love himself. And so, while Dory senses his affection, she also absorbs the painful lesson that not all love is secure, and not all presence feels like belonging. Caught between these men, Dory becomes a hybrid, too grounded for fantasy, yet too emotionally attuned to accept the cold realities of the world. Her transformation culminates in the landfill vision of a diaphanous one-strand bridge. That bridge becomes the symbolic link between logic and emotion, rejection and forgiveness, detachment and belonging. Even her name, Dory Teresa Jones, embodies synthesis. Dory, like the sunken fishboat, speaks to her father's practical roots. Teresa, like the saint, echoes her mother's spiritual legacy. In this, she doesn't choose between worlds, she weaves them together. Zooming out from these stories, we see a universal truth. Fathers wield an outsized influence in shaping a child's emotional blueprint. An emotionally available father instills confidence, identity, and belonging, but emotional absence, especially when masked by stoicism or distraction, can quietly fracture a child's self-worth. Children often internalize this absence as a personal failure, carrying invisible scars into adulthood. Communication patterns matter too. Fathers who model vulnerability and emotional literacy pass on those skills, but those who suppress emotion create generations of patterns in silence. And when fathers ignore, criticize, or fail to understand their child's uniqueness, they foster alienation, a lifelong sense of otherness. Amelie retreats, Dory rebels, but both start from the same wound, being unseen by the man who should have taught them how to feel seen. And in The Garbage Man's Daughter, something remarkable happens after Dory sends her letter. William responds. He admits he watched Wally return again and again, faithfully waiting for Dory at the window, even after she had stopped coming out. At first, William says he found this behavior suspicious, but over time, he came to understand it, not as creepy, but as care. Wally wasn't just a garbage man, he was showing up for her in the way William never could. And then comes a moment of closure. William recalls Wally looking up at the window one last time and saying, "Goodbye, little daughter." It's a heavy line with loss, but also with love. Wally, in his quiet persistence, became the emotional father William never managed to be. William ends his letter with a line that lingers. Forgiveness is ours. Not mine, not yours, ours. A mutual healing, finally possible after years of misunderstanding, silence, and pain. Through this, the story suggests that while emotional damage can't be undone, it can be understood, and that understanding creates room for forgiveness. In psychology, this mirrors the concept of earned secure attachment, where the ability to form healthy emotional bonds in adulthood, even after a difficult childhood, through reflection, empathy, and connection, is learned. In the end, these two narratives remind us that even if we grow up with emotional gaps, we can choose to fill them with courage, with understanding, with forgiveness. Whether through a bridge made of spider silk or a whispered goodbye from the street below, healing is possible. And sometimes, it just begins with 3 words. Forgiveness is ours.